Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Lost Mine Pokemon Trading Card Game channel. I'm Lucas, and today we have a Hops Trainer deck profile. Hop seems to be getting the most hype out of all of the decks, except for maybe N, but that's just because people like N, not because of how good the deck is. So let's get right into it. First, we start off with 3 Hops Zacian EX. Its first attack is 1 energy, 30 damage, and put 30 on one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, much like Buzzwole GX. And for 3 metal and a colorless, it does 240, and during your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Brave Slash. So it is quite expensive, but we do have some ways of attaching energies, and we have some ways of lessening the cost in the deck. Next up, we have 2 Hops Snorlax. Its ability, Big Belly, makes it so that the attacks of your Hops Pokemon do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, but the ability doesn't stack. And for 3 colors, it does 140 and 80 to itself. So we can already get our Zacian EX up to 60 damage on the first attack and 270 on the second attack. And that'll go higher. So next up we have our Draw Engine, which is going to be a 2-2 Reverfroom line. Reverfroom is just you must discard energy from your hand in order to use this ability. You may draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. So pretty good. We want metal energies in the discard pile for our Chaladon. You guys know what our Chaladon does. It's just the best way of getting energies onto the board, and it's one of the only ways of making it so that your Zacian can actually attack. Next up, we have a 1-1 Hops Double line. Hops Double is when you place Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. We do have a few ways of getting Wooloo to the bench, and we can Ultra Ball for double, so it's basically allowing you to use Iono and Boss in the same turn, which is always very good. And for our last 3 Pokemon, we have a Hops Cramorant, a Pheasantipity, and a Tatsugiri. So I'm assuming that if you're watching, you know what Pheasantipity and Tatsugiri do. But Hops Cramorant is for 1 colorless energy. It does 120. If your opponent doesn't have exactly 3 or 4 prize cards remaining, this attack does nothing. So you can only attack with Cramorant if your opponent has 3 or 4 prize cards remaining. Next up, for our supporters, we have 4 Arvins, 2 Research, 2 Iono, a Boss's Orders, and a Professor Turo's Scenario. Arvin will be seeing a lot of value in this deck. There is a very good tool that we want very early on in the game in the deck, and there's also some broken item cards that you can find off Arvin. But yeah, so you don't really need as much draw from your Arvins. But we do have a couple Researchers and a few Ionos. Once you set up a Reverfroom, you're most of the time good to go, and you don't need much draw outside of that. So that's why you don't see very many draw supporters. Next up, we have 4 Hops Bag. Hops Bag is search deck up to 2 basic Hops Pokemon and put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. So you can just find your Hops Zacian, your Hops Snorlax, your Hops Wooloo, and your Cramorant very easily. So it's a very strong 4 of. You can just set up your Snorlaxes and your Zacians very easily. And then for the rest of the ball cards, we have 3 Ultra Ball and 3 Nest Ball. This is just to get your Fezzes out, your Reverfroom going, maybe put a Tatsugiri down. You don't really need much ball support in this deck, because you already have your 4 Hops Bag. Next up, we have 2 Earthen Vessel. You just need to have ways to find energy. Your deck plays a good amount of energy already, so you are going to be able to most of the time just draw into one to discard with Reverfroom. But having a couple is nice, and you can find it off Arvin as well. Next up, for our recovery, we have 2 Night Stretcher, and that is all the recovery we have in this deck. Mostly because you don't really need to have access to 5 Zacians in a game, or 2 Cramorants even, because once the Cramorant dies, most of the time it can't attack again due to its condition on the attack. So you don't really need more than 2 Night Stretcher. You have 1 Counter Catcher. Just a good card to have. In a lot of situations, you're not going to be taking the first prize card. I mean, you're very aggressive, so there are a lot of situations where you are taking the first prize cards, but you are going to get a lot of value from Counter Catcher in quite a few games. And then for our switches, we play one switch and one prime catcher. Prime catcher is pretty obvious. You're an aggressive deck. You want to be able to target the things that you want to be able to target. And prime catcher is just the best ace spec to do that with. And one switch over a... Oh, wait, no, you can't even play switch card because that's gone. 4 Hops Choice Band is the tool in the deck. This card's crazy. When the Hops Pokemon this card is attached to uses an attack, that attack costs one colorless energy less and does 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So, now with your Hops Snorlax and your Hops Choice Band, your Zacian is now doing 90 damage on the first turn of the game, and for free because of Hops Choice Band. And then with Post-Wick, the new stadium, which reads, the attacks of Hops Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon before applying weakness and resistance, means that your Zacian is now doing 120 damage on the first turn of the game, and is doing 330 damage for its second attack. So now our Chaladon can just power up this thing, make it do 330, kill a Charizard, and then just go absolutely crazy. Close Cleave will also give you a lot of value in the early game. You're going to be able to target specific things. You're going to be able to set up multiple knockouts. Very strong. Like, you have multiple lines with this deck. I'll talk about that more after we finish up here. And the last couple cards that we have in this deck are 8 Metal Energies. That should be more than enough. After one Vessel and an energy in hand, you have really all you need. And then you're just discarding them off of Revavroom. So you're playing enough energies to discard them with Revavroom, but you don't really need much more than 8 energies. Okay, so before we end, I do want to talk about some of the lines you can take with this deck. In the early game, you're typically just able to go like Zacian, Snorlax, Post-Wick, and a Choice Band, do 120, take an early knockout, set up other knockouts, and at some point in the game, this combo will just give you a free one-hit. You have the possibility of going Archaladon plus Turo, which is very strong. It's just, we've seen this strategy before. You swing with an Archaladon, you Turo, you put back down the Archaladon, you attack again. You also have the Hops Cramorant, so you're basically able to put your opponent on however many prizes you want them to be on. This Pokemon's going to be giving you a lot of value because it starts at 120, 150, 180, and then suddenly it's one-shotting a Cramorant as a one-prizer, which is absolutely nuts. This deck is very strong. That is the Hops Zacian / like Hops box deck. I think that this is probably the, other than the Lilies deck that you will be seeing on this channel, that is already up on the channel. I think that this is the second best trainer deck. It just has many different lines in the early game, the late game. You can put your opponent on however many prizes you want. You can Gust and Iono in the same turn. It's crazy. This deck has multiple different lines. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more of me, I am on Twitter at Lucas Oldale. I'm on Twitch at Lucas Oldale. And I'm like on Blue Sky at Lucas Oldale, but I don't post there. I really should though. If you want to see more of the Lost Mind podcast, you can subscribe to us on YouTube as well as liking and commenting. You can also check out our Twitter at Lost Mind Podcast. And for Landon, he has Metafy coaching at KatlerTCG. His Twitter account is KatlerTCG, and his Twitch is also KatlerTCG. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Okay, bye.